What's going on, guys? Please like and subscribe to the channel. Click the icon to let me know new videos. I'd really appreciate that, guys. Today's day 340 minus. All right, there's that. What's going on, guys? As always, hope you guys are enjoying your day. Hope you guys had a great trading day. Hope you guys did not have a day like me. Hope you guys have been studying hard as always. Keep grinding, keep studying, keep staying inspired, keep staying motivated. And I'm just going to set everything up here in a second. I'm just getting everything set up. Hopefully you guys, again, had a great trading day out there. And make sure you hit that subscribe button. Because if you haven't, make sure to subscribe. And as always, base hit after base hit after base hit after base hit. I am looking for, where the heck are the options? There they are, options alerts. But yeah, guys, obviously today is not pretty. I mean, we're down $239,000 today. Obviously, you know, it's not ideal, but this is a part of trading. Like I always say, you know, you go through dips and you go through valleys. And, you know, it's not just going to be the type of trading where, you know, you just get to make money and live a great life, right? It's not always like that. And today's a prime example of that. You know, I'm down $239,000 and I'm not going to run, I'm not going to hide, I'm not going to pretend like it never happened, because it did happen. And we make mistakes. As traders, as humans, we make mistakes, and that's how we learn and get better. So I'm nothing to run and hide from, nothing to freak out about. Obviously, it's frustrating, to say the least. But again, guys, this is what happens when you trade stocks, when you have risk. You know, it's not like you just jump in and all of a sudden you're risk-free and, you know, things like that. It's not that easy. I wish it was, but then again, I don't, because if it was that easy, then we'd probably have a lot of I wouldn't say problems, but I don't know. There'd be less room for success, I guess, per se. Okay. All right, I'm live. All right, guys. So here is today's trading day. I'm going to give it a couple seconds for people to kind of tune in, to kind of trickle on in. And go ahead and get started here in a second. So as you can see, guys, you know, we're down obviously almost $250,000 today. And, you know, it's not fun. You know, I don't love... Can you guys hear me? Mic check, mic check, mic check 1 2, mic check. Can you guys hear me? I can hear myself just fine. Can you guys hear me, everyone? Gosh, my nose is so itchy. I don't know why. But anyways. So, yeah. I mean, today's a tough day. You know, and you know what's tough about this day? It's tough because, you know, I lost, obviously... I lost, you know, $1 million 7 days ago. You know, I lost 7 figures. And, you know, I've been doing base hit after base hit after base hit after base hit, right? You know, we went 5,000, 30,000, 50,000, then, you know, 45,000. I think we went 78,000 and 80,000. And in that span, we probably Jake, you must be, I don't know. Everybody else can hear me just fine. That's weird. But in that span, we did about, $30,000 or $300,000 plus dollars. Okay, so I didn't give it all back. But you know what's frustrating about today is I gave a lot of those gains back all in one day. And that's something that I very, 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 very badly want to steer away from. I don't want to spend, 6 or 7 days of trading and then all of a sudden give it all back and I gave all those 5 days back, right? And here's the crazy thing, guys. I was down big on MVIS and I was clawing back and clawing back and clawing back, and I was happy about my day at that point. I was down about $150,000 on the day, and I brought it all the way back to literally within hundreds of dollars of breaking even on the day. And I said, you know what? I don't love anything that's setting up. Let's just kind of be patient. Let's not take any trades and maybe just finish the day break even. Nothing wrong with finishing the day break even. Well, I started to be like, let's just try and get a wallet pattern. And then I kept adding, and I kept adding, and I kept adding until, before you know it, I got myself in a big hole. And I'm like, okay, well, it's got to bounce, and it's got to bounce, and it's got to bounce, and it's got to bounce, right? And it just never, ever bounced. And so, but anyways, I will explain exactly what happened today. But I want to explain each and every trade. So to start off the day, BTX, I basically bought this one after hours, $14.95 yesterday. There was a big seller right here, and I ended up taking some shares just for the overnight because I figured, something was wrong here. No news, no nothing. Just somebody was trying to sell some shares, and I was like, okay, I'll take the $14.95s from you. So I bought those $14.95s, and then, of course, I basically sold dead bottom right there before the big rip, but I had the right idea. I just saw free shares down there at $14.95. It wasn't like it was an offering or anything. I was like, you know what? I'll risk 5,000 shares overnight. And if I would have held it, obviously it would have paid great. But MVIS. So this one, guys, my full attention was on this name today. And I knew that I was going to size up on this thing. I knew that I was going to take probably a big size position on this trade. And it was just basically... based upon, how am I going to, go about it, right? How am I going to figure out, how am I going to trade it? Now, I was going to take a short bias in the 35s and the 36s and the 37s, but out of the gates, we just flushed. And I saw this flush, and then I saw this flush, and I'm like, okay, we have to bounce. That is what I was trying to explain to you guys is the faster it sells off, we're talking about 27 down to 22 in a matter of, 15 minutes. That is a very rapid sell-off. Not only that, but we were very, very rapidly testing yesterday's support, which was right in here at about $23 a share. And look at all the volume that churned yesterday, right? So all this churning going on gives you some solid belief and some solid confidence that is solid support there. Okay? And so, seeing how fast it sold off and seeing, the percentage it sold off that quickly into the support yesterday, I was like, no brainer. We're going to get a solid bounce here. And we just didn't. Literally, this thing hardly bounced all day. I mean, it had a nice bounce from 21 up to 23. And I'm getting better. I was actually pretty proud of myself for this. So I ended up taking off 2/3 of the position on MVIS right up at the 2280s, 2290s range. And then started adding a lot of these dips. And I ended up selling off like either right here or right here, luckily before even the bigger breakdown. Now, obviously, we're coming back after hours, but... I don't know. That this is a really weird... it's been a while since I've seen that much liquidity, that much volume go up and then sell it all back down and then some, right? And actually, we tapped yesterday's candle almost perfectly. But, to see this thing just sell off like that, just straight selling, sell pressure, sell pressure, sell pressure, to me, I don't know. I'll be waiting for the multi-day setup rather than anything because that really just looked ugly. It's unfortunate, but I started off the day down about 130,000. And then I tried to long it one more time, but I was like, you know what, I'm not going to mess with it. And then TIRX, guys. So TIRX was one that I actually did well on. I started buying in the consolidation realm. So I started buying in here. Actually, you know, where I really, my initial buy was like right here. Right here and then right here, I think. And I ended up with a 17, or wait, well, where is it? TRX. So 1772 average. And then basically I was just working core, so I was, you know, I sold some in here, re-added some down here, sold some in here, and then actually I think that was it. And then so here's where I made the big mistake. So that was a nice winner on that one, you know, and I'm basically break even now. Like literally we're talking hundreds of dollars from breaking even. Now, here's the thing. So I started, you know, I was going to see if we get an extension up to 24s and maybe 23s, and then I was going to take a short on it. But we didn't. So we started selling off, and I started to build a long bias. And I started taking a little bit here, and then I was like, okay, screw that. And I took a little bit here, and I'm like, okay. So right in here is where I started to take, or right in here is where I started to take some size. I'm like, bottom bouncer, you know, highest volume this thing's ever seen. All these things, I'm like, okay, it's got to bounce. Short's got to cover, if anything. And, you know, it wasn't really bouncing. The only bounce in here was from 20 to 21.40, but then we kind of just sold off and sold off and sold off. And before you know it, you know, my long bias, I started off with a starter. And then, you know, before you know it, I'm add. And now look at what happens. I'm down 243,000 on that one trade. Literally, I was this close to just walking away and saying, you know what, break even's good enough for me today. You went through a little too much. You sized up a little too much today when the market's not as hot as you would like. And guess what? You paid for it, right? But I tried to take a starter in position, and then basically just it wouldn't bounce on me. I was just looking for a scalp. It turned into from a scalp concept to an add until I get back to break even or then some. And you can see, I mean, we bounced, and there was opportunities to get out a little bit, but not much. And I was like, no way. So we're going down again. And I just couldn't believe it. It was just like this bottom bouncer with a lot of volume just kept selling off. It wouldn't surprise me if we gap up, but I'm not going to take any chances. Tomorrow I want a clean slate. And this is an important lesson, all right? When the market isn't hot, make sure, you know, I'm talking to myself right here, and I'm going to continue to talk to myself, but when the market is, I mean, it's heating up, it's not hot. I would call this light to medium heat in between there. You know, no reason for me to size up too big because, you know, not only are, you know, your confidence isn't going to be as high, but then a lot of times if you're sizing up too, you know, you're going to get some slippage as well. So, you know, in the end, guys, today was an important lesson that I needed to feel, and it is continue to trade small size, continue to take base hits, don't get too aggressive, don't get too greedy. You know, I got a little FOMO because I missed out on the parabolic move there. That could have been, you know, red-green of the day. But the thing of the matter is, guys, I just need to take base hits after 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 base hits, and then maybe a couple more base hits, sprinkle them with some base hits and some more base hits before I start taking some base hits and then finish it off with some base hits. Because at the end of the day, this is just about base hits. You know, right now, I just need to focus on base hits. Now, I know, like I knew on MVIS that I wasn't going to have base hit size on this one. That is because, okay, you know, of the amount of volatility that we've seen. The higher the volatility, and the more liquidity, the more aggressive I will get. And I'll always be like that. Okay, but, all right, that being said, I shouldn't have taken that same mindset and brought it over to TRX. Now, on the flip side, if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have made break even on the day. And I actually felt pretty good about it. On the downside, it cost me here. And the biggest mistake I made today was, just trying to hold and hope in a market that's a little too slow to do that. A lot of times when the market's really hot, you can get away with a lot of sloppy mistakes, right? And I mean a lot of them. But right now, the market's not giving us sloppy mistakes, and I made a sloppy mistake there. And it's as simple as that. Sure, I'm frustrated. Sure, I'm disappointed. I'm upset that I gave away all my profits pretty much for the past 4 or 5 days. But at the end of the day, I have my head held high. What's really keeping my head held high is this GSX trade that I made in my inherited IRA, which is a 7-figure trade for me. This trade kind of keeps my head up, but it was about a week and a half worth of a trade, but it was I made well over $1 million on that trade, and that's what's kind of keeping my head up. If it wasn't for that, my head would be a lot lower right now. Now, it's still frustrating, and this mistake cannot be made. But guess what? I will learn from it. I will never forget that trade. I'll never forget this trade. I'll never forget the EBET trade that I made when I lost almost $1 million on it. Right? Right in here. Now, I won't forget that, and I'll always, always, always remember that for next time. And it'll continue to build, and I'll continue to build, and I'll continue to get better, and I'll continue to get better, and continue to get better. That's the name of the game. Use your losses as strengths, guys. Your losses are strengths if used properly. Every loss that I take, I generally remember, especially if they're big losses. And I'm like, okay, next time I won't do that, or next time size down, or next time don't put yourself in that position because you're always about having an edge and always about having percentages on your side. Well, you're not necessarily taking that much size with that much percentages against you, right? So if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's 170 of you. Hopefully you can get, if you just smash that subscribe button, it helps the NormackNoTrading.com community out a ton. I would really appreciate it out there in the universe of the internet. I would really appreciate you guys if you would just subscribe. Click that subscribe button. I would really, really appreciate that. It goes a long ways here at NormackNoTrading.com. Come on here free every day for you guys. And the biggest help for me is just by clicking the subscribe button so we continue to grow the community and continue to try and help as many traders as we can to make smart decisions. And, continue to build your base, build your foundation, build your knowledge, build up your knowledge of the stock market and build up your knowledge of opportunity out there, and continue to learn from the things that I do right and the things that I do wrong. Today is a great learning lesson on what I did wrong, okay? And, you don't want to hold and hope, especially when the market's not hot enough to do so. Like I said, you can get away with a lot of sloppy mistakes in a very hot market. But that one trade and this trade here were both kind of a little bit too much size and got a little too aggressive in a market that's not quite hot enough. Okay, and I'll learn from it. I know I will. I'm frustrated for sure, but these are all learning lessons and reality checks of a trader. I started with $1,000, and now we're losing $239,000 in one day and well over $17 million in profit in over 340 business days. And it didn't happen overnight. It happened over time. And so you just have to keep your composure and keep your mindset and keep cool, because if you get too high or too low in trading, guys, when you have a great trade, you're like, yeah, like you're way up here. And then when you get too low in a trade, you're like, wow, and you really feel that low. And it's like you have to keep yourself inside this box of like, okay, good feeling of, okay, congrats, and then bad feeling of, okay, you kind of messed up. And I keep myself in that evenly keeled space. So when I'm trading, I'm always just trying to get better and better and better. And that's the same attitude I hope a lot of you guys take away with this, is making sure you guys keep your attitude, nothing wrong with being happy about trades, but making sure, at the end of the day, where it's all about sticking to your process, your plan, and your strategy. It's very important that, you guys, there's about 200 plus people live right now, right? Or 180, whatever, 170. At the end of the day, every one of you guys have your own plan, your process, and your strategy. But I hope that you guys all have an edge when you're trading, okay? It's all about having an edge. And if you don't have an edge, then why are you taking size? Why are you taking money that you can't afford to lose, right? And all these things, you should be making sure that you are constantly studying, like years and years and years, and different charts, and make sure to go back on today's top gainers and look at all the top gainers and see how they reacted and just learn. One of the biggest things I could say is go back and look at the top 5 gainers and losers of every single day after every trading day, and go back to see on how the chart reacted with the volume, with the volatility, with the news breaks throughout the day, how VWAP reacted to it, how level 2 and time and sales react to it, even though you can't watch that same day generally. But just doing that alone can give you a lot of mental screenshots in your head about how people get emotional and irrational and things like that. That's a big step forward, let alone, just studying on every way you can on YouTube. And, you can study my course and if you study all my YouTube videos as well. As always, guys, I'm not a financial advisor. Trade at your own risk. Have a plan, a process, and a strategy. I appreciate every single one of you guys for supporting the NorMagnoTrading.com community. If you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It goes a long ways, and I really do appreciate that. I know that it's just a click of a button, and I know you're thinking, well, should I not? I know, and I've been there too, and I just say, well, nothing wrong with an extra, trader who has some decent content for you guys to learn from. So, all right, guys, I appreciate every single one of you guys. I'm not a financial advisor. Trade your own risk. Have a plan, process, and a strategy. If you haven't already, like the channel, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate that. Free chat room in the description below. If you're interested in my free chat rooms, in the link description below. Join my free chat room. It's in the link description below. My course that teaches my processes. Check that out as well. Brokerage that I use. Brokerage that pays you the 2 free stocks valued up to $1,400. Scanner software I use. Code CAN15, 15% off. Scanner settings I use as well. All in the links in the description below. I really appreciate that, for subbing. How come we can turn on notifications in your channel? Can any of you guys click the icon to alert if I make new videos? I would hope that you guys can do that, but if not, let me know and I'll try and figure that out, okay? As always, please subscribe to the channel, click the icon to alert if I make new videos. Cheers to you.